ourselves here, and this is absolutely a California export to Washington. It comes out of Nancy Pelosi and Henry Waxman and all sorts of West Coast green radicals. And the concept here, it really goes back to 1993 with the BTU tax. And in 1993, Al Gore wanted an energy tax. He wanted to force people to use less energy, use less fossil fuels. It's supposed to be good for the environment and so on. They went for a straightforward energy tax called the BTU tax. They made a lot of Democrats walk the plank. They passed it in the House. It never got out of Senate Finance Committee. And Al Gore told the Financial Times the lesson he learned from that is that you can't be for energy tax hikes. It loses elections. He said that helped us lose in 1994. So they went back to the drawing board. They said, how can we have a huge energy tax and pretend it's not a tax? And that's where this cap and trade concept came from. It also came from some geniuses at Enron and Goldman Sachs who figured if instead of having a straightforward tax, we have a complex regulatory scheme, we can also make a lot of money on administering it and buying and selling and doing that trade portion of cap and trade. So fast forward to this year, with the largest tax revenue source in the Obama budget was so-called climate revenues from cap and trade. They had it in there at $645 billion. White House economist Jason Furman said, really, it might be 2 or 3 times that amount. We're not really sure. The White House wanted to auction off the permits, the allowances for using fossil fuels, bring the money into the Treasury and spend it on whatever they'd like to spend it on. Give them credit for being honest. They basically said this is a huge tax. The House of Representatives takes it up and they say, well, we need to get industry on board. And if we make them pay for the permits, they'll all fight against us. So what if we give them out for free for the people who want to play ball with us, even though they're worth a fortune? Pay no attention to the fact that White House Budget Director Peter Orszag said in March that if you give the permits away, it would be the largest corporate welfare program in U.S. history. They did it anyway, and it is. And as a result, there's a lot of industry support for this bill, and from the consumer perspective, it's absolutely as much a disaster as if they made them pay for it, because the cost of the program still gets passed on. Now, Sandra mentioned that this 3-day estimate for the impact of cap and trade is just based on the budgetary impact. CBO says this program will cost about $845 billion. Now, the reality is the real cost is going to be much larger, and if this did pass, I think it would also show up in the regulatory compliance section of future cost of government day reports. There's some really good numbers in here from the Heritage Foundation. They found that on average it would eliminate over 1.1 million jobs. Electricity prices would go up 90%. Gasoline prices 74%. Natural gas 55%. Energy prices for the average family under this plan, just energy, would go up $1,500 per family per year. The overall loss to purchasing power for families would be about $4,600 for a family of 4. Now, if you're Al Gore and you're making $50,000 a speech, you don't really care that much if your $30,000 home energy bill doubles. But for ordinary Americans, this is a huge hardship. It means they have to give up things that matter in their lives. And we're already standing here, it's the middle of August. We're in the middle of August, we're doing Cost of Government Day. I guess the good news is they upped the ante on sandwiches and got the deluxe ones to try to get turnout here. But the bad news is, this is scary stuff. We're now working 8.5 months to just pay for the cost of government. We've got only 3.5 months to work for ourselves. If policies like this are passed, there'll be little, if any, time left for us to work for ourselves. It'll all go to government. Government will control the allocation of all the resources in our economy. It'll be based on political favoritism, not based on who's actually efficient and effective and productive. And if that happens, that would be a real, real tragedy. I want to commend Assemblyman DeVore. He just signed a pledge that we have at Americans for Prosperity not to support any global warming bill that includes a hidden tax hike and increase in revenues. I hope that other members of Congress, members of the Senate, and aspiring candidates will make the same commitment, because whatever we want to do on the environment, whatever we might think is justified, it shouldn't be used as an excuse to hide a huge increase in the burden of government, a huge increase in taxes. We should have an honest debate about the environment, not a hidden tax hike inside something that's supposedly an environmental bill. Thank you.